Hi everyone, and welcome to Flosstube number 2 here on the Dramatic Knits channel. My name is Steve. Welcome. Thank you so much for your warm welcome to my first Flosstube last month. I truly appreciate the community and connections that I'm making here in the cross-stitch and needlework community. It is a beautiful thing, hence why I wanted to start Flosstube, and I'm so excited to be here today with Flosstube number 2 to show you my progress that I made here in February. I worked on 5 different projects and wanted to talk to you about those and my plans, little plans, as well as kind of how I'm working my rotation and some acquisitions and talk about some other Flosstube channels that I've been watching, as well as ask for some recommendations from you all. So, thanks again for tuning in and spending some time with me. I know that there is a voluminous amount of Flosstubes and other crafting channels, and I thank you so much for sitting down and spending some time with me. So, I'm hoping to keep this Flosstube a little on the shorter side, so we're going to dive right in to what I first worked on. But first, let's talk about how I've been working my rotation. So, last Flosstube, I showed my 3 works in progress that I started the year with, or started Flosstube with, and I've decided that I am going to use a random spinning wheel, like the Tiny Decisions app that I actually learned about here on Flosstube, and I'm going to be switching out my projects every week, which I talked about last time. However, I am going to go through all of my projects before I start a new project. So I have to touch all of my projects, my current WIPs or works in progress, before I can start a new one. So how that's working is all of my works in progress are on this wheel, and there is a new start option on the wheel. But that can only be selected once before I have to go through the whole wheel before I can start the wheel over again. So once I start a new project, I will enter that project in the new start slot. And then when I go through all of the options, when I reset the wheel, I will add another option, which is another new start. That way I'm making progress on all of my projects before I add another one, because I think here in the beginning, every 5, 6, 7 weeks, a new project is going to be started. But as things start progressing, the starts are going to start slowing down, incrementally, so that I don't kind of get inundated. Because again, I'm 1, a slow stitcher, 2, cross-stitching is gaining my attention more so each and every day. However, I would say it's my secondary craft. Knitting is my first craft, and I do have my knitting podcast, which is where this channel started. And a lot of you are checking me out here on Flosstube, or have been a longtime viewer of the Dramatic Knits podcast, and you've commented on the first Flosstube saying, that you really want to try cross-stitch, or you've done it in the past, and now you're getting the inspiration to start again. And I really, really, truly appreciate that. And I know what it's like. I fell down the rabbit hole as well. So that's kind of how my rotation's going to work. So this past month, I did work on my 3 works in progress, and I did actually start 2 new things. One, I was planning on starting because I had bought the pattern and all the materials needed before I recorded my last Flosstube. I was just waiting on it to arrive. And then the second new start I'm going to show you today actually did pop up on my random wheel, and so I started it. And I have a range of things. So as we're seeing progress and projects being added, you'll kind of get a taste for what catches my fancy and the types of projects and patterns that I enjoy. So the first thing I worked on is the biggest project that I have, the one that I had been working on for 3 years monogamously before I really jumped into that rabbit hole of cross-stitch and opened myself up to having multiple projects that I'm stitching at any given time. and that is The Fruits of Plenty by Modern Folk Embroidery. And actually, this is what's going to be put on my Q-Snap this evening to work on for this next week. I did have a fresh wheel that I spun Saturday night, and it selected this one again as my first option, so I'm glad to get back to it. Just as a reminder, I'm stitching this on 32 count Belfast linen from Picture This Plus in Tycho, the Tycho colorway. And let me show you that. One of my acquisitions was I did get a big pack of these Amazon stowaway bags, storage bags that I'm using for my projects. It was just a relatively affordable and easy way to store my projects, and I can see in them and know what they are without having to open everything. And while I do love handmade project bags, and you'll see my one that I did order for cross stitch that have the vinyl front that you can see into them, I was like, this is going to be a little more affordable here right now. So here is where I am at on Fruits of Plenty. And I was working more in this section with the house because I'm working this way. I do need a board. That's probably something I should have picked up yesterday. I went out shopping and got some clothes, but I also stopped by Joann's and tried to get some floss. They were there was absolutely no actual DMC floss. They had a couple of skeins of pearl cotton, but that was it. I had to go to Michael's. But I am working my way across this way. So I was working in this section probably when I saw this about 5 weeks ago when we last spoke. So I did not start counting my stitches this first week since we last chatted with each other. I am now using the Notions app I forget the name of the lady who organized it. It's like a $9 download. Michelle Bendy of Bendy Stitches has been using it. I am still learning how to do it. I'm figuring out what works for me, but I'm able to keep track of my stitches every day and then add them up. So the next 4 projects I'll have my stitch count, but this I did not. But I do have my percentage because this is a pattern on Pattern Keeper. So right now I am at 65.75% completed on this, and I'm excited to get back to it this week and get back onto a linen. I've been working on an Ada for the last week or so, and it's not the most comfortable Ada to stitch on, but I'll show you that project here in just a minute. So that's going very well. I'm enjoying that. That's just using 2 colors of DMC. I did not write down the numbers. Maybe I will next time actually look at the ball bands. I've just been stating when I was formally discussing this project on my knitting podcast, I was just saying I'm using 2 shades of DMC. So I have not looked at the numbers for that here recently. So moving on, the next week, what was picked for me, or actually no, what I started, I just decided I was going to start it because like I said, I had ordered the materials and I wanted to start it, is A Year at Hawk Run Hallow by Carriage House Samplings. So I've seen the Hawk Run Hallow series all over Flosstube, and I really enjoy the aesthetic. But again, these are large pieces and I'm a slow stitcher. It's going to take me quite some time to get through them. And I did not want to dedicate a whole entire piece to one specific holiday. So I do not see A Year at Hawk Run Hallow talked about or discussed a lot. If you're working on it, I'd love to see some photos or things like that of your progress. But I decided that if I was going to do one of these Hawk Run Hallow pieces, why not do A Year at Hawk Run Hallow? And that way I can keep it up all year and I get to stitch on every month and get those little bits of holidays or different things. So as I've been talking about these, I've been showing you the pictures of what the finished project will look like. I think it's easier and clearer just to insert photos rather than hold up either my Kindle or show you the pattern. I did order the pattern and all the materials from this from 123 Stitch. It came as a paper pattern, and I am really learning how to use paper patterns. I don't enjoy using paper patterns or marking them off and having to find each and every symbol for every stitch. It is not my preferred way to stitch. I really, really do enjoy Pattern Keeper. I have tried downloading multiple different things, Markup XP. My phone, my Kindle, and my iPad are all too old to really use Markup XP, or so it is what it is. I need to upgrade, but money for all those electronics. We need like all new computers at work here and at home. So I did get the pattern. I'll just show you the back here. I did make a working copy of it. The nice thing is each and every page is a single block in the pattern, and for each month. So that's really nice. I did buy some colored, a set of colored pencils to be able to kind of mark off as I go on my working copy. The fabric that I selected for this is a 40 count. It was my first time. I now have 2 projects on 40 count. Using 40 count, I'm getting used to it. It is not easy. 32 count, I have no problem. I've not stitched on 36 yet. I'd like to try that. 40 count is a bit small, and I do use the magnifying glasses with the light, and I have an OT light over me. It's still very small. And this is my first project stitching 1 thread over 2. I do enjoy the 1 thread over 2. I do enjoy the finesse of it, the subtlety. So the fabric that I selected from 123 Stitch is this, and this is 40 count Newcastle linen by Picture This Plus in doubloon. And it's a bit crunchy. It's not bad, but it's a bit stiff. But I do really love the modeling on this. So believe it or not, I started off by doing eating my vegetables, and I did the first day. I did complete the border, which was a lot of stitches in it, and everything lined up. I was really worried that everything wasn't going to line up. But I started with the January block, and here it is. I did get the gentleman's pants and boots and most of his hat. I got a tree, another tree in the beginning of the a third tree, and I got the little bottom border done. And yeah, so this is the January block for A Year at Hawk Run Hallow. And I'm enjoying this. So because this is not in Pattern Keeper, I do not know my percentage, but I did get 1,015 stitches in on this. Believe it or not, that doesn't look like much, but that's 1,015 stitches in that block. So this is gonna be a big project. It is a big, I think this is a fat half. I'm learning fabric cuts, but yeah, it's gonna be a big piece. What I did to start, again, I like to start in the upper left-hand corner. It's just how I work, the same way reading, the way you read something. So I measured 3 inches in and 3 inches down and kind of just started right there. So that's going. Enjoying that one very much. I highly recommend The Year at Hawk Run Hallow. I really wish that it was available in a PDF. I don't think that they are. If I'm mistaken, please feel free to let me know. And I'd love to, hear your comments on your Hawk Run Hallow, whether it's this one or any other one. I do have all the DMC flosses in here. You can see all the fun colors, and I am using, I pull out a section of thread from the skeins, and then my extras, I am using a Paco organizer, and this is the original. I did buy about 5 knockoff ones off of Amazon that I'm slowly working into other projects because I just don't know where to put the extras when I'm done. I was looping them around the floss, but it just gets to be a bit of a hassle. And I have bobbinated in the past. Knowing I can work right off of this works for me, and having the Paco organizer, so that's A Year at Hawk Run Hallow by Carriage House Samplings. All right, so then the next week, my wheel chose for me Make a Wish by Carolyn Manning Designs. And again, this is such an enjoyable stitch for me because it's geometric shapes. It's a lot of fill-in of color. There's not any confetti. It's done on 14 count white Aida. However, again, I might have chosen a different fabric now that I'm working with it, but I'm not going to change it now. I might have went to a 28 count just to get a more of a linen. The Aida sometimes is hard to, it's just, it's not as an aesthetically enjoyable to stitch on. I don't have a problem with it, but I have my preferences. Again, all the gorgeous DMC that I picked up from 123 Stitch. This was another one. And again, here's my knockoff pack organizer that I got from Amazon with the extras. And here's where I'm at. Again, 14 count white Aida. I got 833 stitches in this project on the week that I worked on it. And I'm now sitting at 6.95%. So I think I have one or two motifs, and then that'll be the full top border, and then I get to, come back down. There it is, up close. And yeah, I'm enjoying this one a lot. I don't know why I started so down on the fabric, but I've got plenty of room on this fabric. I think it measures like 11 inches by 11 inches or something around that. So it's going. I'm enjoying it. Again, about 7% done on that and 833 stitches. So it's going. So the next week when I spun my wheel, I chose New Start. And the next thing I wanted to start was the 2020 Pandemic Sampler by sarcygurl. This is still a free downloadable pattern. And if you Google it, you can find it. And I showed you last time that I had purchased fabric and silks for this years ago, and it has been sitting waiting for when the day comes. Well, the day did come. And so I was like, okay, we're going to try another 40 count fabric. This one's a little bit darker. And again, I have to it takes me a day or two to get used to the 40 count fabric. And I am using 40 count linen in Jamie's Kilt by Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And here it is. And then I purchased the Mrs. Seda Silks silk conversion. She's based out of Spain years ago. Here are all the silks. This is my first time stitching with silks, learning how to floss drop off the cards. Are working really well. What I really love about this conversion that she sent is she tells you the DMC equivalent, what the number is on the pattern, and what the symbol is on the chart. I think that's what that is. It's been a couple weeks since I worked on this, but she's got it all there for you. So again, started in the upper left-hand corner, and there are a couple of mistakes already, but I know where they are, and I just have to make sure I don't count off of them. I am not going to rip this out. Trying to make sure this is, yeah. So here we are, and I'll point it out because I don't really care. This pink flower motif is one stitch over. And then right here, here, and here, they're supposed to be 3 stitches wide, and I did 4. Now, it's not going to be that noticeable, and I do not, as I see it, need to rip this out to fix it, but I did make it across, I think, the first page of the pattern, excuse me, and slightly into the second just to finish or finish the strand of silk that I was using. I am loving, my color's blowing out. I am loving the variegation in the silks though, the hand dyed. This is my first time using hand dyed in cross stitch other than fabric. And so these silks are glorious to work with. It is a good thing to use shorter lengths. I really did not have a lot of knotting. I did have a little bit of fraying on one of the strands that I was using after I was pulling it through the linen quite a few times. It was starting to fray. But other than that, it's just been a glorious experience. The silks are beautiful. And as you can see, this will be the entire piece, but that is where I am at right now. I did get 927 stitches into this project, and this is not Pattern Keeper friendly. I've tried a multitude of times to upload this into Pattern Keeper, and it just will not read the pattern. So I am using it on a PDF, but what I'm doing is I'm literally just like redacting, and I'm putting blocks over the stitches as I stitch them, and I am counting them as I go, but I do not know the entire stitch count, nor do I know the percentage done. So alrighty, we're getting to our last project here in this update. And this was the last thing that I've been working on for the last week. Again, this is my one and only handmade cross-stitch project bag. This is from Little Boat 88 out of Canada, and it's got foxes on it. And this is Tree of Dreams by Joy Sunday. I do want to mention that somebody left a comment on my previous Flosstube to watch out for Joy Sunday because not all of their patterns are copyrighted. And I do not know whether this is or not. I debated not continuing on with the project. When I brought it out again, I was not enjoying stitching on it. I did get used to it, and I decided to move forward with it because I purchased the kit. I had everything. I'm going to complete the project, but just be fair warned, I will not be buying one of these kits again, just because I'm not enjoying it's a pre-printed fabric, and I can't read the symbols for the most part. It's not that easy to stitch off of. Plus the actual paper pattern that I do have to reference and mark off is very small. So all the flosses in the kit. I did do the math because I was like, oh wait, this is full coverage. So I don't have to worry about all the empty spaces. I know how many stitches are in here. And I realized that this project is, what is it? 300 stitches wide by 250 deep. So I did the math. This is a 75,000 stitch project. And so I was able to figure out my percentage. So I did 891 stitches this week, and I'm now sitting at about 1.2% done, I think. So you can see here, the pre-printed fabric, it's very stiff. It is very, very hard. I'm a two-handed stitcher. I use a floor stand and a Q-snap, and so it is very hard for me to be able to find the hole from the back side. I'm getting there, but some days it is just a struggle. But I've been working up in this upper corner. I do have the first 10 by 10 block completely filled in. I'm almost done with the second. And then I've been doing a lot of black. There are certain colors in here and swaths of color that I was getting frustrated with the lack of amount of stitches I was able to put in with the confetti starting in the upper left-hand corner. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling one strand of floss in the confetti or the next stitch that I need going from top left. And I'm doing a loop start folded over, and that gets me about anywhere from 10 to 15 stitches of confetti built in. And then I'm pulling two strands of, right now I've been working in black, 310, and I'm pulling, I'm doing that in the full length, and I'm stitching that. That usually gets me anywhere from 35 to 50 stitches in at each sitting that I'm doing at this. So you can see some of the branches coming through. I will enjoy this piece when it is done, but it's just, and you can see my back here, it's not great, but going through all those flosses and confetti and everything is also the part of the hassle of being able to stitch through this fabric. But it is going, so it is going to be a large piece when it is done, relatively large. But yeah, I did enjoy working on it other than the things I've mentioned this week. So I did get, like I said, 891 stitches. I'm at about 1.2% done on that guy. I'm just like, it's almost like a canvas. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know. I enjoy working on something a little bit more soft, supple. All right, so let's talk about what's coming up next. I thought I would share with you, since I now have a fresh wheel with the option of a new start. I actually picked a little small, which I don't really am ever drawn to, but I was watching a new Flosstube. I don't remember who. I'm going to eventually mention them, but they had mentioned this pattern called Friendsheep by Romy's Creations, and it is a free small chart on Romy's Creations Facebook group. So if you search on Facebook for Romy's letters, words, speaking, ROMY' Creations on Facebook, and you join their group, and then go under files. She has a bunch of free charts you can download, and Friendsheep is one of them. And because my partner and I own a yarn store and an independent yarn dyeing company, I thought this would be a little cute small to maybe frame and put on our mantelpiece here in our shop. And so I actually am going to use some kind of creamy oatmeal colored 14 count Aida that came in a kit that I showed last time. It was the squirrel sampler. I haven't started that yet, but I had purchased linen for that. And so I'm going to pull the Aida out of that kit. It's going to be plenty of fabric because this is very small. And what I went to Michael's for yesterday, tried Joann's, was to get 3 skeins of floss. So the first 2 are really simple. For the sheep, I'm going to be using Blanc, which is white, and 310, which is black. And then the red that says, I love our Friendsheep. I wanted to try one of the colorists, but I didn't want anything highly variegated or like anything with reds and pinks. There was other colors, but I did find this one. This is color 4210 from the DMC colorist line. And it's reds, pinks, and purples. And so I'm going to stitch the lettering with this for Friendsheep. And hopefully I will get motivated to have a quick stitch, something that I will actually use and enjoy, and have a finish to show you sooner rather than later. So I can't say that new start is going to get pulled before the next time we chat, but in case it does, that's what's coming up. I did just throw these. This came with the project bag. This is a little, I don't know what you call these, floss mat. It's got the felt. You can put your needles in there, and it won't really roll around so much. It kind of sticks to the felt. So I just threw those in there so I could keep them safe and ready to go for when that gets pulled. So that's what's going to be my new start when that gets pulled on my wheel. So let's talk about, I decided every Flosstube I would mention with you 3 Flosstubes that I'm watching. And I'll link them down below in the description box. I'll also have all of my whips and new starts so that if you want to search for those patterns, they'll be down below in the description. So the 3 Flosstubes that I'm mentioning are all new Flosstubes that have started here in the new year along with myself. The first one I want to mention, I just caught up with his most recent episode yesterday, and that is Sheldon in Stitches. He is based out of Canada, and he is another male stitcher. I like a lot of his projects that he's doing. Some of them aren't my jam, but I'm seeing the enticement to maybe stitch something like that, but a lot of them are. And I enjoy the sound of his voice and how he organizes himself. His corgi is absolutely adorable. I love corgis. As I mentioned, I might have mentioned last Flosstube, we had 2 dogs. For one was 10, one was 14. And unfortunately, we had to help them cross the Rainbow Bridge last summer. We had a Yorkie, Ernest. He was 14, and towards the end, he was 14. He had a torn ACL that, unfortunately, we had to make the decision. We couldn't do surgery. We didn't know if he would make it out of surgery. It would be very expensive, and they couldn't guarantee that it would actually provide any better quality of life. And so he was dealing with a torn ACL for a number of months, and some nights it was so bad he couldn't even do a couple of steps up into the house. There were days that he didn't want to go very far into the yard to go to the bathroom. And then we also had a Cairn Terrier, Cornelius, that we affectionately called Corn Dog. And he was the lover of the 2. Ernest was the neurotic one. He was on doggy Prozac for years. But Cornelius, the last 2 years of his life or more, he was diabetic. He had to get injections twice a day. He had a lot of bathroom issues around the house. And he ended up going completely blind over the last several months of his life. It was we noticed he was getting blind. He was completely blind at the end. And we knew that the time had come for Ernest and the Yorkie. And while Corn Dog probably could have gotten a couple more months, we made the decision to help them cross over at the same time, because I could not see letting Cornelius come home to a house without his brother. And the fact that he was blind, he would not know where he went, not be able to see that he was gone. And Cornelius used his brother Ernest auditory cues to help him navigate the backyard, especially at night. And I had a feeling that if he did not have his brother, he would his downfall would greatly increase incrementally. So needless to say, we have a soft spot for dogs. We would really love to have another dog, but unfortunately with our indie yarn dyeing business, we travel a lot to shows and festivals, and we had gotten both of them before we started the business, and we felt like we were not the best fur parents that we could be, and so we've decided that dogs are, never say never, but maybe after we retire or we're traveling less, but we do love dogs. So Sheldon and Stitches, check him out on YouTube. Again, I'll have him linked below. The next Flosstube I want to mention is Oh Stitch Happens. I didn't grab his name, but he is based out of Ohio. He does a multitude of different types of projects. Some are my jam, some are his jam, but he's just funny. He lives with his partner in Ohio. I think they've been together for a multitude of years, just like Andy and myself. And so, there's that connection, and I really enjoy his stitching, and he's not afraid to laugh at himself, neither am I. So check out Oh Stitch Happens. And the last one is Mountain Mama Stitches. She is based out of South Carolina, I believe, but she's originally from West Virginia, and she talks about that's where her heart and home is, and that, but due to work, she is a scientist and a professor and travels a lot for work, and has really delved into cross-stitching. She said she was a knitter for years, and really got back into cross-stitching over the last year or two. And so I watched her whip parade. That's why I love whip parade season. It introduces me to people and their projects, and then I get to decide whether I want to subscribe to continue watching their journey. And I enjoyed her videos, so I'm subscribed to her. So if you have not tried out any of their videos, I highly recommend them. That being said, I would love to hear from you all. Thank you so much. One of the things I love about Flosstube is y'all love to leave comments, and I enjoyed interacting with everybody who left a comment last time, but I'd love to hear recommendations from you on maybe some smaller to mid-sized projects that are Pattern Keeper friendly and are available in a PDF download. I find a lot of charts that I'm, taking note of or Googling while I'm watching Flosstube. But if I can't find the PDF, I'm like, do I really want the paper chart? Because I'm trying to figure out how to navigate entering things that are not automatically, PDF friendly into, because I also don't know how to use my scanner here at work. We've never been able to figure it out. Recommendations from you all, patterns that you loved to stitch. I'm not a huge fan that I can tell of backstitch. I don't really want to do a ton of specialty stitches, but full cross stitches, things that you think kind of my aesthetic, and also other floss tubes that you would recommend. Or if you have a floss tube, please leave a comment with a link to your floss tube. I'd love to check you out. All right, I'm a little bit longer than I wanted. I wanted to keep this around a half hour, but I just want to say thank you again for tuning in and allowing me to share my new passion for cross stitch. I'm enjoying doing this, and So if you are also into knitting or want to catch up with what's going on in my life, what I'm reading, watching, what's going on with our business, Leading Men Fiber Arts, stay tuned, because my March episode of the Dramatic Knits podcast is going to be coming out on this channel, available to all here shortly after this video. I'm going to record it later this afternoon, but with editing and everything, it may be a couple of days before it shows up after this video. But I am going to, the Dramatic Knits podcast is now going to be available for free on YouTube to everybody. Last time I mentioned our Patreon. But I've decided, with the state of the world right now, we need positivity, we need creativity, we need empathy, and we need love. And so I've decided that I want to share my passion for making and creating with as many people as possible. And so the Dramatic Knits podcast is going back to being available to everyone on YouTube. There is a Patreon for the Dramatic Knits podcast / Leading Men Fiber Arts. I'll have that linked in the description below. And you can read there on how to support both our business and the podcast there. If you're so interested, please check that out. And until I catch up with you in April for my update, thanks again, and I'll see you then. Bye.